So I was looking for a horizontal water tank to increase the capacity at our little cabin. We get water off the roof. And we have approximately 300 gallons of storage, and it's enough, but it's not a lot of extra. So I've been looking for a horizontal tank to increase that, and couldn't find one. And with my impatience, I didn't wait long enough, and I bought a vertical tank. I thought I would just lay it down and blind off the end here, and then it would become a horizontal tank. So I had a piece of Home Depot FRP fiber reinforced plastic in the shop. I cut 6 circles out of it to make a blind, and I stacked them up and glued them together, and it worked pretty well. And I went with 16 bolts. It wasn't enough. I probably could have doubled this, and it wouldn't have been enough because the tank itself is so flexible, and it's so hard to get any kind of sealant to stick to that type of plastic. So we filled it up. We got it on here, caulked it, bolted it, filled it up, and it leaked. So I just posted the video on working on this water tank and having the leaking blind flange on the end. But I actually started this thing at least 2.5 months ago, before several other projects took over my life. But I'm back now, and I'm going to take that blind off, and we're going to see if we can't redo it and make it not leak. I got to get it off today. The grinder and made a little cut right here and a little cut right here that line up with these 2 plugs, so I can remember which way it goes. It shouldn't make a difference. I think I have the holes drilled pretty accurately, but you never know. So just to make it easy on myself, I marked it, and when I put it back, I'll put it in the same place. I have a special wrench to get the last few on the bottom. So you can see that all the caulk I put on the top of the tank adhered to the lid, which is fiberglass, but none of it adhered to the plastic tank. This was a Loctite marine caulk. It's very similar to 3M 5200, but it's not 3M 5200. It's a little bit different. So I think that either when I tightened the bolts, I deflected the plastic tank portion, and it let go of the caulk, because I tightened the bolts several days after I set the lid. I wanted the caulk to seal first like a gasket, but so when I tightened the bolts, I either broke the seal, or when I started filling the tank, it squatted out a little bit and pulled the seal. But either way, it didn't work. So now I'm grinding off the white caulk. I have a very stiff wheel on the grinder, and I have the grinder going as slow as I possibly can. It's a variable speed, so I don't melt this stuff and make a mess. Don't burn it. And it came off. It came off okay. It took a little while. Okay, we got a clean flange, so we're back to where we started a month ago. Most of the stuff came off with the wire wheel, and then I cleaned it with the MEK to get the burn marks off. And I think this is good. Now we need to go look inside the tank. These are the stainless steel fender washers you see popping off, and there's just a little bit of caulk residue, and doesn't take much effort to get it loose from the tank, because it did not stick to this plastic tank, the caulk that I used. Washers are all off. There's still some goopy on the inside. I'm gonna try to hold the wire wheel on the inside without erasing my wrist, I think. Maybe I can hold it through the top. Hold on. So I clean the inside just by sticking my head and shoulders in there and scraping it with a chisel, pretty sharp chisel. And of course the caulk came off easy because it doesn't stick, but I was also able to kind of gouge the surface all the way around on this inside with the corners of that chisel to kind of give my next step some mechanical. There is a recess on the back side of where I had the flange bolted. There's a little lip sticking up. I'm going to fill this up with plastic. I have the holes taped with blue tape, so hopefully the plastic won't leak out onto the concrete, because that wouldn't be good. And I have this stuff wife buys, it's called liquid plastic. I don't know what it is. It's not epoxy. It's not a polyester resin. It's just liquid plastic. And you mix it together equal parts. It sets fairly quickly. And I'm gonna mix some fiberglass strands with it to kind of make it a little bit stronger. So I want as much glass as I can get in there and still have it flowable and have the glass totally wet out. You see that? Oh, I just lost the light. Okay, I'm gonna go pour this. I'm probably have to mix several batches. So even my blue tape didn't stick very well to this stuff. It leaked around the corner, but it still did good. Still have plenty of plastic all the way around. So that flange is now way stiffer than it was. So that flange is now way stiffer than it was first go around. So this rectangular tank is the water tank that came with the camper trailer that I took apart to make the frame, to get a frame to build my little tiny house out of. I believe it's the same material. So I'm gonna cut a circle out of it and try to weld it in the end where I had the blind. So I messed up a little bit. The new top is not snug enough to stay up there by itself. It falls in the hole. So I just took some little stainless steel wires and heated them red hot and pushed them in around the perimeter. And then as I go, probably pull those out through the hole. But anyway, now it should stand it up, which I cannot do with one hand. If I stand it up and lay the top in there, the new top, the seal, I'll call this the seal, should stay put so I can try to weld it. I've got this antique soldering iron plugged in for the first time, and I don't know when, and I don't know where it came from, but it's big and heavy, so maybe it'll get hot enough to melt this plastic. Well, we made some progress. We got our plug melted in place. This is not a good weld. This is not a strong weld. This is not a waterproof weld, but it is holding it in place, so that's step one. This iron does a good job of plowing a deep joint, just like you would take a grinder and grind out a weld to put in a better weld. I need some sort of filler metal, and I think I'm pretty optimistic this might work as far as sealant from a water leak. And I'm planning on putting the blind back for strength, because this is just flat. Although this is almost as thick as the tank, but the tank's curved and this is a flat sheet, so this is not as good. Anyway, enough for today. Let's move on home and try again some other day. So I brought my electric shears, hoping I could cut strips with it, but this is too thick, it won't bite. So I just took the jigsaw and cut some strips off the circle. I got some random strips here to use as welding rods, basically. I've got this that I didn't mess with the other day. I can heat that with the propane torch. And I got this electric one, and it did okay. It would be nice if it got a little bit hotter, but I don't think it's adjustable. Anyway, I got it plugged in. It's starting to warm up. I'm gonna scoot the tower over here by the table so I have more to stand on, and we're gonna start. Okay, new day. So first thing I want to do is finish making the connection all the way around. So like right here, can you see that? It's a gap, it's not connected. Here's a gap. This is just marginally connected. This isn't even close to being connected. And after it's connected, then I want to melt out a V groove, just like doing a weld with steel. And I'm gonna put a filler plastic in there. That's what I've been cutting. That's these things. These things, and then melt it again. So that's what I'm gonna start doing this morning. As soon as the iron gets hot, it's a big old antique iron, so it takes a while to heat up. This is one of those jobs where my shaky hands don't help me out any, but we muddled through, and I got it at least stuck together all the way around, everything I could see. I don't think I have any gaps after I went around with this thing, but it's kind of like welding, but in slow motion. We get the filler material hot and sticky, so it'll go in and crack, and then kind of seal it to the base material, and it tends to wallow out. You tend to have all the new melted material on both sides of the joint instead of in the joint. So it's kind of a tricky little deal, but it's not impossible to do. And just keep plugging away at it.
This is what I'm doing. I think it would go quicker if the iron was hotter. But if I get it too hot, I'm going to burn the plastic. I don't want to do that. So I'm just going to take my time and go around and completely fill it, and then we're going to go back and cut a V-groove. Okay, we are sealed all the way around, more or less. I think pretty good job sealing. And then I took the grinder with a coarse sanding flap disc, turned the speed down as low as it would go so it wouldn't just melt this stuff. Got rid of cleaned it up a little bit. So now I think I'm going to go along with the electric iron and cut that and melt that V-groove, and then try to make another layer of weld on top of that. I'm not crazy about how that iron is doing. I might try something else, but I think it makes a good V-groove. So let's V-groove it. I think the iron is hotter than it was a little while ago. That's what we're doing, trying to hold it on that edge and get a V-groove, which we're getting. So I got a little thing going here. Put a scrap of plastic in the groove, standing up, and then I just set the iron on it till it melts. And then I make an effort to melt it into the edges. And then I move ahead. And there's too much plastic. If the little welding piece is too big, I can kind of stretch it out when it gets hot. And if it's too skinny, I can shove it back into the groove when it gets hot. And my shaky hands are definitely not an asset doing this. But we're gonna muddle through. That's what we're doing. We're gonna go all the way around. Haven't been very far yet. But we're gonna go all the way around. Well, we've been all the way around, and holding that old heavy iron was good wrist exercise. And will it leak? I'm 99% sure there'll be at least one leak. Will it blow off? 50-50. I'm gonna put the flange back for structural strength, but I want to check it before I put the flange back for leaks. So let's go fill it with water and see what happens. While it's filling, I did some math. I believe there's going to be 63 pounds of pressure total pushing on that blind flange, and I believe we have 52 inches in the circumference, 52 inches of plastic weld, so that's 1.21 pounds per inch of weld. Will it hold? I don't know. I know the tank's probably going to change shape when it starts filling up, so that's probably not going to help it any. But if it holds, that'll be pretty exciting. Okay, water is climbing up on the extra plastic I added on the inside. It's going to be on the flange pretty soon. So the flange is currently holding back about a ½ inch of water, maybe 3/4. So far so good. Maybe I'm not sitting in a good spot here. Maybe I'm going to move. Okay, looks like we're about 4 inches up. Still dry as a bone. I'm pretty patient. I'm going to sit here because if it starts leaking, I want to see where the spot is. No leaks yet. Getting close to halfway. When I had a real job, we would occasionally put in pipe made out of this stuff, and it was typically for odor control, just to have air go through it. And we had to weld the joints, and at the time, we had an electric gun with a little pointy tip. And we had welding rods that looked like, they were plastic, but they looked like TIG rods. They were long and skinny. And the guys could really make some pretty plastic welds with that setup. And I kind of wanted to get one, but they're like $400, so I may do with the 50-year-old soldering iron. And so far, knock on something, it's holding. Get close to the middle. I just heard a creak, it made me nervous, but not leaking yet. I wish I wouldn't have got this water on the ground because it's going to be But anyway, I can see the flange, so I'll know if it's leaking. That's a beautiful sight so far. Oh, you know what? I did that, I did the math wrong on this thing. I figured the highest pressure would be when the water is here, but the highest pressure is when the water's here. So it's a lot more pressure per inch than what I lied to you about earlier. Okay, we are above the flange, and so far so good. This is kind of a mean test because this thing's just sitting on the concrete. There's no cushion, no support or whatever. When it goes to the country, I plan on putting dirt about 3 inches up on each side, so it's going to be much better supported, and it will it should deform less when I fill it up. Oh, I'm so happy, but fingers crossed. We are above the flange by a couple inches, and I can't decide whether to turn the water off or go ahead and let it fill all the way to the top. It's filling faster now since since the top is smaller than the middle part. I don't know, I guess I should just sit here and let it fill. Kind of nerve-wracking. Sun just made the sheet metal on top of the foundry shed pop. Scared the crap out of me. I'm on edge here. Definitely bulging out right now. Definitely bulging out, but this stuff's pretty flexible, so that's probably not that big a deal. Water's coming up the slope now. Plane's going by. I wish it would be quieter. I wonder how much the water company is going to charge me for 300 gallons of water that I'm getting ready to dump on the ground. I hope I do the dumping and the flange doesn't do it. We are probably 2 more inches from cutoff. Looking at the water come up to the top, I realized I hadn't planned on an overflow of any kind. I'm going to have to put something maybe on the influent, the 2-inch influent pipe down there, maybe tee off for an overflow. Yeah, I got to put something. Man, we're getting close. I'm almost getting confident. There was a single drop of water right here in the middle, and I don't know where it came from. Oh well, let's get this water out of here. Tank is kind of smished looking at the very bottom, but if I put it in a dirt saddle, it should help spread the load a little bit. Well, it's draining out a whole lot faster than it went in. So let's go get some lunch, and we'll come back after lunch, and I will glue the flange back on. I'm going to use a different type of adhesive than I used the first time. I'm going to use my wife's liquid rubber. It's a little more sticky. I've been told to use 5200, and probably true, but I don't have any, and I have liquid rubber, so we'll put that on there. I'll do the same thing. I'll glue the flange on and let that dry, and then I'll put the bolts in and snug them up. All right, so the tank is empty. I got it back inside. I put 2 holes in the flange where they used to be, kind of reference holes, so that all the rest of them will line up where they were. I did use the grinder on it, which I probably should have done. I did use the grinder on it, which I probably should have done before I tested, but all I did was I knocked off some Sharpies. So, and then I wiped this down with some solvent. The bottom of that's clean with solvent. I'm gonna go mix up some liquid rubber with some thickener to use as a sealant. Now, technically, it doesn't have to seal because this did not leak, but I wouldn't mind having a backup seal, and then this flange can act as a stiffener and keep this thing from flexing so much, and hopefully last the rest of my life. Ooh, that was a mess. That was a mess. Okay. since that's just a single part, that ooze right there, it's gonna stay sticky like forever. I have to, oh, I have some kitty litter. Hey!
So I thickened up the liquid rubber with polyfiber and with Cabasil, I think it is. This back from my boat building days. It's pretty old, but I don't think it goes bad. I wanted it to not run all over the place, so I just thickened it until it was like a nice paste. And now we're spreading the liquid rubber around. Basically, we're just making a gasket. And this time the gasket should perform better than last time because I have the inside of that flange stiffened up. So hopefully it won't distort between the bolts like it did last time. I did take a minute to find the holes for these two bolts. These are my two alignment pins, and of course you can't see anything now, so I'll cover with goopy. But I wiggled it around, I found them and pushed them in, so the flange is in place and the bolts are sticking all the way through into the tank. And we're going to weight it down and go away.
All right, we're done. And it dries real slow, so tomorrow will be whenever I can do it. Good morning, boys and girls. It's a new day. This rubber has set overnight and it is cured. This was more liquidy than that caulk I used first go around, so it oozed up through the bolt holes a lot more. I gotta try to figure out how to get those bolts out. So I'm gonna take my weights off, lay it down, drill these. Well, I may drill these vertically, and then we're gonna put the bolts in with the Pookie, and yeah, that's it. I'm not even gonna water test it with the bolts, because if one of the bolts leaks, I can fix that in place. And then we're going to put the little black hatch in place and get it glued some kind of way, and then tomorrow we can paint it. Okay, ready to drill. Now theoretically all I should be drilling through is the rubber, because the original hole and the flange should match up, because I put two bolts and I got these lined up. We'll see. I'll retract that statement I made like 35 seconds ago. I'm drilling through that plastic flange that I poured on the inside. That pourable plastic with the fiber, with the glass fibers in it, I'm drilling through that too. So it's gonna be a little bit more drilling. Now I don't remember this bolting being a lot of fun, and it should be a little more interesting this time, because they got Pookie all over the thread, so they don't spin up by hand quite as easy. Not too bad though. So the two bolts that I had to get the flange in the right spot, I didn't take them out. They had a good covering of rubber, and I did get a nut and washer on each one. So I'm just gonna put sealant on the bolt, stick it in a hole, put sealant on the threaded part of the nut of the bolt sticking through, and put a washer in the nut and tighten it up. I don't want to get them super crazy tight, because we got that nice layer of rubber between, and I want to keep that rubber. So let's stop for a new pair of gloves. And this is actually going better than the first go around. Really the only changes I made, last time I had the tank chock, so this was vertical, and it was more uncomfortable to get my arm over the top to the bolts on the inside. This being loose, I can roll it around for every different bolt to get comfortable. Another thing is, last time I put the caulk on a stick and used the stick to coat the threads inside the tank. This time I'm just putting the whole caulk gun in the tank. It fits and I can see and I can operate it. And the caulk on the threaded part of the bolts, it keeps me from spinning them by fingers, but it's the little 1/4" drive thing spins them real easy. So yeah, going pretty good. I only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I only have 7 more to go. Last two, caulking up the threads, sticking them in the hole, and these are close to the top, so these are relatively easy. And the vice grips go on, and then the caulk gun goes on the inside. I put a lot of caulk on the threaded part of the bolt that's sticking in, and then we're going to put a washer on each one. I'm doing 2 at a time.
And then we get the nut and try to get it threaded. And when I can reach them, like this one is not too hard, but some of them, if I'm reaching way across the tank, they can be kind of challenging. And then put the little 1/4-inch ratchet, tighten them up, and I don't really have to get them very tight. And then we'll go into the other one doing the same thing, and that's what I did 16 times. So here's my access hatch frame, and the tank is round and the frame is flat, so that presents some issues. All this really needs to do is to keep out the bugs and the leaves, and what else? And let me get in there. It doesn't matter if it's waterproof. It'd be kind of nice if it was. Oh, and keep out the sun, because the sun is the devil. It will make the water turn green with algae. So I think I'm gonna do this in 2 different steps. I'm just gonna caulk it on the parts that touch, so it'll be stiff, it'll be fixed. And then I'm gonna take this oil-based clay and fill in that gap. And then I'm gonna take that liquid plastic, like I did that flange, and mix it thick enough like Bondo and just kind of shape this. Yeah, and then we paint, and then we haul it to the country. So come along. I'm just gonna set this frame in caulk and then go home. Okay, it's been 2 hours. It's not really hard, but it's hard enough to keep it from falling off. So I'm gonna take some clay. It's pretty stiff. I'm gonna warm it up in the microwave and seal underneath there, and then we're gonna mix up some liquid plastic with some thickener. Just fill all this in. Okay, it's done. Doesn't look too bad. So it's set pretty quick, so after lunch, I could theoretically come over here and paint. Start painting. Painting it black, black, black. Okay, it's a new day. Today is paint day. I got a plug in the bottom so it won't mess up the the threads. I got an adapter here to make sure I don't get paint up in those female threads. I got to clean all this up. This is the plastic that I put down yesterday. Might need a little sanding. Get this off of here. I'm going to use coal tar epoxy. I got a 5-gallon bucket. I don't know if it's ever been opened. This is from my Paint Fairy Carl. It's an epoxy. It's super thick, and it will be super opaque. It is excellent for blocking out the sun. This is a pain in the buttocks for mixing. It smells like unholy hell, and it dries really, really hard, and I think the tank is gonna swell up when I fill it, so it might have some cracking problems, but I'll deal with that with just some black latex paint if that is a problem. And it doesn't do well with sunlight. It will go from black to gray, so I'll probably coat this with some latex house paint or something just to protect the paint. The paint's gonna protect the water that's inside the tank from sunlight. Sunlight will make the water grow algae. So we gotta black it out. Let's see if we can get this blue tape off and get this flange cleaned up a little bit. We just got it on the internet and read all the, well, I didn't read all the instructions because it was like 30 pages. 28 of those 30 is warnings about health effects. So it's not good stuff. It has a shelf life of 8 months unopened, and it's probably 2 years old, so it may not be any good. But let's open it up. If I can make it liquid and the hardener will mix with it, it'll be good. And I'll put it on the tank. If it fails, well, it fails. It's never been opened before. So that's a good thing that the level's low because it's meant to put the hardener in the bucket and mix it all at one time. So I'm not going to do that. I do have my big fan blowing on me. And I got my 2 exhaust fans up there, bringing the air out. So, let's see.
think it's good. Now the hardener is usually a clear liquid, so it's probably fine. Oh yeah, it's beautiful. Clear all the way to the bottom of the bucket. I need to figure out a way to mix it 4 to 1. I'm going to try to pour 2 quarts of the part A, the black, and a half a quart of the hardener. Let's see how this goes. Oh my gosh, this stuff's heavy. I can see the 2 quart mark from in right here. Damn. Perfect. Do have some MEK here, so if it's too thick to roll, I can thin it. But I don't want to thin it if I don't have to. I don't want it thick. So I used the little 3/8 nap rollers from Home Depot. I think they're either blue or purple or something. I can't remember. It's black now, but they didn't start out that way. And they hold up amazingly well on all of these harsh paint chemicals, because I use a lot of oddball paints that I get from Carl the Paint Fairy. And I've never had any problems with these rollers. I bought expensive rollers from the people that supply boat paints, and they failed and the little fuzzy starts coming off. But these little rollers from Home Depot, they're pretty tough. Okay, I have a black tank, and that was fairly painless. Wasn't bad at all. I got like a couple drops on me. Didn't get it all over everywhere. Mixed up, it flowed. I didn't have to put any thinner on it, so it's pretty thick. Got a lot of millage. I think the instructions say up to 20 mils, which is really thick. I don't know if I have that many, but it's all good. Now when this cures, it may take a couple of days. When it quits stinking, it'll be cured. I'm gonna protect the epoxy from the sun with some latex house paint, and this looks like it's a light green. I'm not sure where that's from, but this is actually good paint, and I think there's enough to paint the tank. Well, I lied again. I am not going to put another coat of paint on the tank today. I am going to load it in my truck and bring it to the country in the morning and set it, and I will put the finished coat on it after it's set, because I don't have time for it to paint it and make sure it dries and then load it. So we're just going to get it in the truck. And it is awkward because there's nothing to grab onto. It's a beautiful Friday morning. We are at the country and the tank is in the truck. And we are going to put it right here. It comes from about the edge of this step over to about right here. I want to dig a little swale to set it in to try to get like a little dirt cradle for it. So I'm going to have to cut off these boards. Those retreated boards that I set the water tank on, because this spot was so soft and muddy, and it had pieces of that old stump in there. I was kind of scared about differential settlement or settling on a sharp spot or something, but I don't need that anymore. It's not going to go anywhere. This land has dried out, so I'm going to try to cut these boards off, remove some of these pieces of stone, and dig like, I don't know, maybe 3 inches deep, not much, just what'll be a consistent support for the bottom of it, and then whatever dirt I take out, I will throw to the side. I have my little electric chainsaw. I'm going to try to cut it with that, because the blades for that are like $4, and the blades for the big chainsaw are like almost $40. So probably pretty soft. I'm gonna hopefully I can cut it with the electric chainsaw, with the battery powered chainsaw. Okay, I just dipped the tank and it has been pretty dry here. So this is my water level in the tank. Not too bad, because full is about here. So yeah, we got plenty of water. It's supposed to rain coming up in the next few days, I think. So maybe I can get this tank hook up before we get another rain. I'll start saving more water.
I'm a big fan of these little battery powered saws, but one drawback they have is they don't have an oiling system. Well, this one has one, but it's so awkward that I don't use it. So the little chains wear and stretch, and once you reach the maximum ability of the saw to take out the stretch, then they don't stay on. So usually, sometimes before the chain even gets dull, they're too stretched to use, but they're very inexpensive, and I still like the saw. It's just I don't have a good chain with me, and I couldn't keep it on. So we're going to go to Mr. Still. Cardinal rule of chainsaw chains health is don't stick them in the dirt. Well, I'm trying not to.
Oh, easy schmeezy. Okay, no problem. We'll go get my wheelbarrow.
If you've been watching my videos for a while, you probably realize how much this soil material has changed. It has gone from absolute muck to dry, hard, compact, whatever. I don't know whether it's clay or silt or some kind of mix, but it just takes drainage. You got to get the standing water off of it, because this stuff just absorbs standing water like a sponge, and now everything's lovely.
Really hard to tell whether I'm good or not here, so I think I'm going to take the tank and set it in a hole and try to drag it back and forth a little bit and see by the skid marks what I have left to take out.
I had a much harder time getting the tank out of the truck than I had getting it in the truck. It is slippery now, and there is nothing to grab. Ended up eventually unscrewing the hatch up top so I could get my hand in the hatch. And I got a 2x and pried it a little bit, but it's not an easy thing to grab hold of and pull.
Nothing to grab on this tank.
Check out my wheels on my hand truck here. My Harbor Freight wheels had failed. The bearings fell out of the hubs. And out of a fit of frustration, I grabbed what I had, which was bicycle wheels, and stuck them on there. And actually, it works pretty good, except they do stick out frontwards a little bit. So really wide loads like this, it rubs the tires. But otherwise, I might keep them on there forever. So I did use my 4-foot spirit level and a 2x6 straight edge to try to get this, straight groove, or this groove straight. But dragging the tank back and forth was a big help, because it showed everywhere it was touching.
Okay, it's kind of hard to tell, but I have a skid mark here. I have a skid mark here and here and along here. So I'll just scoop out a little bit and put the tank back. It's easy enough to roll it. And I thought I had painted the bottom completely, but apparently not. But that's okay, it'll be in the dirt. I won't have to worry about ultraviolet rays making the algae grow if it's buried in the dirt. Let's scoop a little more and we'll roll it back and do it again. All right, after a few tries, I'm touching here, 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 and here, and here. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna throw some loose dirt in the bottom and I'll wiggle it a little bit and call it good. This is gonna be so much more support than they had sitting on the concrete in the parking lot at the foundry. And I will throw the loose dirt back around the edges. And it's gonna be hard to compact, but after a rain or two, it'll settle down. Okay, we have a clean tank, so I'll put the top back on to make sure nothing would fall in. Yeah, this is good. It's hard to believe that this tank holds more water than this tank. This is a 250 gallon tank. This is a 300 gallon tank. I guess it's that much longer. So, okay, I got a wheelbarrow full of dirt. I'm gonna put it around the edges and pack it. I can't really pack it too much because I'm just gonna pick the tank up because it's so light, but I can pack it so that when it rains, it'll settle down in there. And then we just need to hook up this inflow to this outflow. Ooh, that's loose. And then turn this one up so it won't overflow until this is full. Yeah, I don't want this one overflowing on the ground while this one's trying to fill up this tank. We'll do something. So I did a pretty good job of tamping the dirt in around the edges. Not so hard that I would move the tank, but stiff enough so when it rains, it won't just wash away. And then I took it out because I got to paint, and I want to paint pretty far down, so I scraped it back out. I got some paint here. It's a good brand of latex, and I got a roller, and we're just gonna put a sloppy job on it just to protect the epoxy paint from the sun. So this is my plumbing. Both of these used to turn and go straight to the ground, and they were the overflow for the tank when it would rain really hard. The tank would fill and it would overflow on the ground, no big deal. Now I turned this one and sent it into the tank. So I didn't want this one to still be an overflow when I'm trying to get water in the tank. So I turned it 45 degrees. So if the tank fills and the water gets up to this level right here, this will overflow. And in the meantime, these two round tanks have an overflow, but it's minimal. There's not a lot of water that can go through that screen, and it's at the same height as this overflow, or it was when I set it. So what does that mean? Well, it just means it's not gonna be 100%, maybe 95% of the water. When this tank gets full, it's gonna go in this tank, and then I put a vent here to make sure I don't get too much head. It doesn't fill up too much, it'll always drain down here.
So all this work was done on a Friday, and I go home, and on a Monday, this is the weather report. It has already rained 2.5 inches in Osaka, and it's going to rain another half, so there's going to be 3 inches of rain before I get back. So I'm like ecstatic because the tank is going to be full. The new tank is going to be full like 3 days after I set it. You don't get much better than this.
And we had that 3 inches of rain, and I thought when I got here the tank would be full. I was pretty excited to have it fill up the first week, but I got here and it's almost empty. There's like nothing in there, and I couldn't figure out what in the world went wrong until I walked down here and noticed that somebody didn't turn off the petcock. It's off now. So I had an opportunity to fill it. I messed it up, but summer's over. We get more rain in the fall and the winter, so we're gonna be fine. It will fill up. Just it was kind of disappointing that I didn't see it full when I got here. Anyway, thanks for watching, and see you next time.